When it comes to running a memorable Dungeons & Dragons session, or any RPG session for that matter, preparation is everything. Whether you're a seasoned DM or taking the reins for the first time, setting the stage for play determines how smoothly your session is going to flow. GameMasters here, and today I'm going to break down how to prep your D&D session in 4 easy steps, giving you my battle-tested framework that ensures every adventure is immersive, engaging, and fun. I recently posted a video detailing that to be truly immersive, you should prep for the situations and not the story. I'll link to it towards the end of this video, but that really is the first step here. One of the most common mistakes a DM makes is over-preparing a narrative instead of developing a dynamic situation. Listen, your world should be reactive and freeform. Otherwise, all you're doing is locking your players into a story where they have no choice. If that's what you're wanting to do, if that's what you're going after, go write a novel instead. When you sit down to prep, consider what all could happen in your world, other than directly where the player characters are going to be entering that game at. Detail the environment to offer it up choices, conflicts, and of course, consequences to actions. Ask yourself who wants what in this world. What are they willing to do to get it? What happens if no one intervenes? And yeah, I'm somewhat referring to NPCs here, but also to natural disasters or even divine cosmic destruction. In other words, what can you come up with that plays into your world being a living, breathing place? Will the volcano erupt in 10 days, regardless whether the characters are there or not? Will the comet appear overhead and bring with it a demon? Is that army of undead marching in an unstoppable line towards Waterdeep? These are all situations that you can prep for, but by allowing the players to have a choice in their own actions, by letting them tell the story, all you have to do is sit back and let events, let situations unfold. By doing that, you are setting up a living world where your players' decisions have weight and their actions have meaning. To that end, talk to me in the comments. What's a situation that you have prepped out? And I mean only a situation and not the entire adventure. And how did it impact the game overall? I'm kind of curious to see how it worked out for you. Accompanying this step is to also prepare NPCs that have minds of their own. Not every NPC needs to have this brain, but your key NPCs will definitely benefit. By crafting up NPCs with agendas of their own, you've provided to those NPCs clear motivations, which in turn can be used as an opposing faction to the PCs, or perhaps as a central conflict that is already in motion when the adventures begin. For example, instead of having the players plan on how to stop the marching undead, let the zombies already be in Waterdeep, wreaking havoc, and let the players decide how to deal with that. This builds agency, urgency, and intention, which are all great setups for a memorable mission. The second step is to make your situations flexible. Instead of scripting everything, instead prepare modular components that you can slide into the session depending on where the players go and what choices they choose to make. Think of it in terms of world events or encounter zones, as opposed to scenes from a movie. Let's say you've got a dungeon map all drawn out, with the entrance being in a cavern that is under an inn in the Dock District in Waterdeep, except the players never go there. They instead hit the graveyard, which is easily a couple of miles north, but by making it modular, you can easily make the entrance inside a crypt, or even in a grove of rocks should they instead just completely leave the city altogether. Perhaps you've placed a ship in the harbor that has a specific magic item on board. You've mapped it out in great detail, tossed in 2 encounters that are going to be a very tough battle, but again, the players never went to the Dock District. They instead left the city. You really need them to have that magic item, as it's going to help stop that zombie horde. By having that situation, the ship be modular, and for a bit of a kind of a mind fudge, place that ship half embedded into the ground and rock, which the PCs will encounter several miles away from any body of water. Doing this, and you won't have wasted the time you spent drawing your maps. Combat can be done the same way. Create up combat templates. And I'm not talking about random encounters. There are loads of random encounter tables out there, and while you can use those in a pinch, I'm instead talking about creating, again, as we mentioned, encounter zones. That is, have your predetermined monsters or encounters already ready to go. And yes, those will take some preparation to create beforehand, but have them be flexible enough so that you can plop them down for battle whenever needed. You may decide that a group of goblins lives in a cave that is going to fight the players, but in the course of the adventure, you decide that you just don't want to mess with the cave after all, but you really still need them to fight the goblins. By shifting that encounter, perhaps the goblins exited their cave in search of food. By shifting that encounter zone, you are still going to maintain the flexibility to have your prepped combat ready. Modular prepping, that simply ensures that you are ready for almost anything, even should your players go really way off the beaten path. One of the best ways to really flesh out the modular areas and combat situations is to use descriptions that engage the senses. Describe the sights, the sounds, the smells, but be sure to vary them based on the specific surrounding areas. While you've got it now prepped to be modular, by adjusting and tweaking those sights, those sounds, and those smells to where the players currently are, it's going to blend in seamlessly. And no one other than you is ever going to know that that encounter was specifically planned for somewhere else. Now, before we jump into the third step, I'd like to ask that if you're getting anything out of today's video, to please consider giving it a thumbs up, as that really helps to share it with others via that almighty YouTube algorithm. And feel free to comment below too that you love all GameMasters videos. That also helps. For the third step in the process, you'll want to prepare for agency. As we mentioned, you're not writing a novel here. It's a shared inspirational story. There is no way imaginable for you to prepare for all possible choices that your players are going to make, but what you can do is prepare for what they are likely to try and do. I'm not suggesting that you force them into set outcomes. This, in a way, leads back to the second step by making things modular. But here, you want to prepare your adventure or campaign by understanding what choices and options are available. Think of it more of a, if they do this, then this will happen, in terms of conditions and branching consequences. For example, should they bribe the city guard, then the smuggler can get away. Should they instead interrogate the smuggler, then they uncover the secret entrance to the keep. This approach lets you stay agile while keeping the session cohesive and impactful. For any given situation that you've prepped for, write down 3, maybe 4 likely actions that your players might take in that given situation, but also make note of the consequences of each of those actions. You don't have to try to predict what they're going to do, but have instead a sense of the situation and the logic of the choices. That's what you're going to want to make notes of. Of course, you'll want to always allow room for storytelling and not lock yourself into the mentality of, well, I wrote down 4 possible outcomes. Regardless of what they do, I've got to stick with these and only these. Many of the most memorable sessions stem from unplanned player antics. Sometimes you, as the DM, have to simply accept their situation, say, okay, and just roll with it and kind of follow that fun. While the focus here is player agency, remember the DM should also have agency of freedom as well. While we aren't writing a novel, we are crafting up what the world and what all happens in it. While it's the player's story to tell, it's your sandbox with your sand, and it's up to you to have it react appropriately to the PC's actions. The fourth step is to simply organize your notes. Simply put, great prep means nothing if you fumble through random pages of disorganized notes during the game. Streamlining your notes, making them easy to navigate so that the information is at your fingertips, that's going to be key here. Structure them for clarity, speed, and reference, all keeping in mind that with the modular structure of what we've spoken about before means that you can switch and swap your notes to virtually any other location. You'll want detailed notes, sure, but having a quick one-page layout can help. Something that contains quick hooks, NPC names, encounter notes, maps, things like that for super quick reference that you can in turn use to look up your deeper, more detailed notes. Or if you're more into the digital thing, you can always whip up a quick HTML with hyperlinks to your material. This for me takes a little more work, but I know that there are others out there that really get into that type of prep work. And hey, if it works for you, run with it. Make it happen. If you're more of a physical notes kind of person, like me, you can use color-coded index cards for your modular events and locations. When you are detailing out your NPCs and monsters, if you have specific names, make them in big bold lettering so that that those names are going to stand out more. Put in key dialogue in quotes. This is the stuff that you're going to read directly to the players. Summarize your monster stats. You don't have to write it all out word for word, or to save space, write down the name of the monster, then the book and the page number that the stats are found on. That way you're not taking a 3-minute break while you're trying to remember exactly where it's found. One last step, and I know I was going to give you 4 steps, so we're going to consider this one a bonus step to preparations. Once you have everything written out, once your notes are in order, spend a few minutes going over them. Look at the consistency of the session. Does everything line up? Is it all in the same tone? Meaning, did you make everything so that it fits into a dark tone and setting or a silly setting and tone? While you can mix and match tones, by being consistent here, you're going to craft up a more memorable environment. Of course, that said, you can easily pop silly moments into an otherwise dark setting, and that too can lead to a pretty memorable moment, or if for any other reason, to simply bring levity to the situation. This upfront once-over is going to ensure that surprises in your own notes don't pop up and create something that's out of place, but it also helps to tailor the session so that you can deliver to your players things that they love the most. It might be combat, might be exploration, might be impactful and emotional storytelling. Your task as the Dungeon Master is not to deliver a perfectly scripted story. If that's what you're going after, like we said, write a novel and submit it to be published. No, your task is to create a vivid and interactive world that responds to your players' choices. If you stick to these steps in preparing your next adventure or campaign for that matter, I'm confident that you are going to elevate your game to a really unforgettable experience. As you follow these steps and get into the groove of play, you are eventually going to get a sixth sense for what excites your players, where you should add tension, and how to adapt on the fly. Earlier I mentioned a video that I did where we really unfold the prepping for the situation. Be sure to check it out next, but also talk to me down in the comments. What are some preparation tips that you'd like to share with everyone? Again, comment below, and until next our paths cross, may your next session be unforgettable.